Then we have the view of the Sautrāntika. Now let me go to the name Sautrāntika. I'll briefly explain what the name means. Sautrāntika. The Sautrāntikas are so called because they follow the Sutranta. The word Sutranta is a synonym of the word Sutra. And what they mean by that is that they do not believe that those 7 Abhidharma treatises were taught really by the Buddha. They believe that the Buddha did teach the Abhidharma, but he taught the Abhidharma in some specific sutras, such as Artha Vinishaya Sutra and others. And they quote some passages where the Buddha says that you should rely on the sutras. And therefore they say that they derive their philosophical positions directly from the sutras. They do not consider those Abhidharma treatises to be of ultimate purport or authority. So they do not believe that past dharmas or future dharmas exist. They believe that past dharmas existed and future dharmas will exist, but the only dharmas that really exist, everything that exists is just in the present moment and lasts only one moment. So to look at it in a different way, they identify efficacy or activity and existence. To exist for them is to be in a causally relevant sequence, to be a moment in a causal chain. That is what it means to exist for the Sautrāntika. Therefore, they discard things like space, which is supposed to be permanent, because they say it's just the name for the absence of form. When atoms of earth, etc., are not there, that is called space, but it just refers to their absence. It's not a separate, really existing entity. So in that way, they discard that type of entities which are supposed to be permanent. They also don't believe in this category of the Vaibhashika, namely the factors disassociated from the mind, because they think that what exists either falls within Rupa or within Nama. Either it is materiality or it is sentient. It cannot be a third category. And all of those categories they explain as being just conceptual shortcuts to understand certain processes, but not really existent. Now, the way in which Jñānaśrīmitra summarizes the Sautrāntika view is quite striking, and it has to do with something which is of great importance for the whole tradition that he belongs to, namely the difference between materiality and sentience. So what this short sentence says is that some people, kecana, namely the Sautrāntika, understand selflessness in terms of the lack, viraha, of conjunction, yoga, between what is dull, what is insentient, jaḍa, and what has the nature of luminosity, prakāśya. So, the part about the Sautrāntika is about the relationship between materiality and sentience. Materiality is represented by this word jaḍa. Jaḍa, which means something like inert. It means something like dull, and it refers to something, well, to Rupa, basically. Rupa qualifies as jaḍa because it is not prakāśya or prākāśya. It doesn't have the quality of luminosity. And the reason why the Sautrāntikas use the word luminosity to describe the mind is as an indication of its being self-aware, aware of itself. So for the Sautrāntika, there are two classes of entities: Rūpa, which is jaḍa, and Nama, which is Prākāśya or Prakāśya. Rūpa, which cannot cognize anything and cannot be self-aware, and Nama, which is self-aware, it is luminous, and it is aware of other things. Actually, to be more strict in our description of Sautrāntika, we should say that for them, mind doesn't really directly cognize outer things. What happens is that there is one collection of Rūpa, one momentary collection of Rūpa, that functions as the object of the mind in the sense of being one of the causes that will give rise to a moment of consciousness. That moment of consciousness follows. It arises afterwards, so they're not simultaneous. The moment of consciousness which is caused by this object doesn't exist at the same time as its object, the object that caused it. They have a type of coordination because the object is going to imprint a certain configuration into that moment of mind. So for example, the collection of materiality entities that make up a table are the cause of a moment of consciousness that follows and that appears like a table. But when we think that we are perceiving a table, what is really happening, according to the Sautrāntika, is that we are perceiving our own mind, or rather the mind is perceiving itself as having this configuration of a table. Therefore, the Sautrāntikas are also called bāhyārtha anumeyyavādin. It means that they believe that the existence of the external object can be inferred from its effect, namely consciousness, but it's not really directly perceived. So, due to their view of momentariness, and due to their view of causality, according to which cause and effect can never be at the same time, but have always to be one after the other, they believe that there is no yoga, there is no real connection between what is insentient materiality and what is luminosity or mind. And therefore, this is how Jñānaśrīmitra summarizes the view of the Sautrāntika. There's another reason why he is presenting it in this way, which is this text itself is very much connected to 8 verses by Aryadeva that similarly summarize the 4 Siddhantas. And those verses emphasize the nature of cognition or awareness, how the different Siddhantas understand awareness. And therefore, this is a key point. Also, this way of describing the Sautrāntika allows us to easily move towards the yoga-ācārya view.